Hey guys, Argent here. I was going to do a video sooner on this, but sometimes I do these and they just don't turn out very well, and I just forget to remake them. I mean, sometimes you're going and you do a good job and you get the points across, and sometimes the audio is really warbled, and sometimes you just don't think you covered it and you don't think it's that interesting. I know with the amount of videos I put up, it seems like I just put everything up that's done, but I actually do delete a fair number of them and just don't post them because they're just too bad to listen to, or I think they're too boring, or sometimes things just don't work out. So this is a review of Lamotrigine week 4. So I've been on Lamotrigine for 4 weeks now. First 2 weeks I took 25 milligrams once a day at nighttime, and now I take 50 milligrams, which is two 25 milligram tablets, once in the morning, once in the evening. So first off, the difference between 25 and 50, I can really tell. I found at 25, I was kind of feeling withdrawal, or just, it's not even withdrawal. Drugs that have a fairly short half-life, Lamotrigine's half-life is about 12 hours, meaning about half of it's out of your system every 12 hours. And once a drug goes through its half-life, it starts to become less effective. So it's going down your bloodstream and its effects start to wear off. So drugs have different metabolizing times. Lamotrigine is one of the fastest, so within an hour of taking it, your blood plasma levels is at maximum concentration, and then it degrades for the next 12 hours, and then you start going into withdrawal, more or less. So it has to be taken twice a day. And you take it twice a day, the half-lives overlap, and so it's a steady state then. It's called steady state dosing, and the blood levels are about the same. And even if you're at such a low dose that you don't go into withdrawal, it just feels weird. Even because generally speaking, you don't go into withdrawal if you're on the minimum dose of a drug and you go off of it. Like if you were going to go off of the lowest dose of a psychiatric med, you probably wouldn't even, you can't really taper off of it, so you just stop taking it, and there probably wouldn't be any side effects. So it's not really withdrawal, it's weird to go from a psychiatric medication working to just not working on an almost daily basis. And it's not as if it fully leaves your system, but most of its effects kind of subside. And I could tell by the time I went to take my pill in the evening, it was starting to wear off. So taking 2 pills a day, really I can feel the blood levels, you can tell that they're a bit more stable. I don't really feel the effects of it wearing off. I mean, I can definitely feel they're less by the time I take my next pill, but it doesn't feel like they're going away. And I, generally speaking, have a pretty fast metabolism for these kind of things. Like, generally when I take my Cymbalta, I can normally feel it working within an hour or two. It kind of wakes you up a bit. SNRIs wake you up a fair amount. So, we have Cymbalta, we have effects, we have Lamictal. So, how's Lamotrigine going for me? It's a really good medication. If you have bipolar, I recommend you take it. It's, as I think I've said, it's very different from other medications for bipolar. It does not cause sedation, at least in most people. It is not sedating. If anything, it's kind of activating. And if you have bipolar type 2 like me, your main issue isn't really the mania. I mean, the mania is bad because the mania doesn't mean you're happy all the time. Most of the time it means you're anxiety driven, angry, obsessive. It presents like you're having panic attacks. So that's not the main problem, because you don't have it that often. Most of the time you're just depressed, and something that's a bit activating and that gives you a bit of energy is good. So Lamotrigine does not cause sedation. It doesn't make you sleepy, it doesn't knock you out, it does not impair your cognitive function. Because like Depakote does impair your cognitive function, and so does Tegretol. Not as bad as some, but most mood stabilizers impair your cognitive function, and that's partially on purpose, because if you're manic and you're going 1,000 miles per hour, you need something to slow you down. And if it works properly, you don't really notice it, because it just, the sedating effect is countered by the mania, and it kind of, like you're at a 9 and it pulls you down to a 5, I guess is what I'm saying for a lot of things. But if you're bipolar type 2, that's not normally a good idea, from what I've read, because you're already depressed and you don't really need something to sedate you. If you're hypomanic, you might need something to sedate you, but you don't, and Lamotrigine doesn't do that. It doesn't impair cognitive function. If anything, I find it helps it. It's a great medication. It's like the newest of them. It does not cause weight gain. It hasn't made my appetite worse. My appetite was a bit weird just when I was going on it, but that's fairly normal. Anything that messes around with your brain chemistry will have weird short-term effects. Once your body gets used to it, most of them go away. You always feel a bit confused for a couple days, but overall, what I find it's really good for, better than almost anything I've ever taken, is anxiety. It's dramatically reduced my anxiety. Now, I don't know if that's the mood stabilization, just taking care of some of my hypomania and some of kind of my mixed state tendencies, but it's really decreased it. Even from when I started taking it, I could tell it was just dramatically going down. A lot of just my self-hatred just kind of vanished. My self-loathing has just gone down like 70-80%. I still have it sometimes. My social anxiety has gone down, I guess, like 60%. I still have a fair amount, but it's much better than it used to be. Just my anxiety and my sense of well-being and stuff has gone away, and it's very a lot of drugs, I say, will quiet the mind, because if you're bipolar or you have an anxiety disorder or something, you have these constant dark, horrible thoughts peppering your mind, like they kind of feel like needles, white hot needles being stabbed into your brain, and it quiets that, and it feels like there's a nice cloud around my brain. It's very calming. I feel a lot more calm and collected, and it seems to be preventing panic attacks. So that's all really nice. And the nice thing is it does that. It's calming but not sedating. So a lot of drugs that calm you down are tranquilizers that basically knock you out. And I'm not knocking that, because a lot of people need that. I've had drugs like that in the past, where if you're having a panic attack or you're having a manic or a really bad manic episode and you're going to go do something crazy, it's probably preferable you just take something that knocks you out or just sedates you for a while, and you just go take a nap or something, and then it just something to get you through it without hurting yourself. But Lamotrigine doesn't do that. It's calming. It calms me down, but it doesn't sedate me, and it doesn't impair mental functioning. So it's a great medication so far. I'd probably like to be at a bit higher dose. I'll probably go up to about 100 on it, but it's working very well. I don't seem to have a problem remembering to take it. I haven't had any side effects, really. I haven't had the rash. I've noticed it's caused a bit of insomnia. Once again, though, I can never tell, because not being depressed anymore, things that treat depression will sometimes just cause insomnia because you're not depressed, so you don't feel as tired, and you're kind of feeling better about the world, so you don't want to sleep. It's a bit like how some antidepressants don't actually make you eat more. You're not depressed anymore, and if you're not depressed, then you feel pleasure more, and you want to go do things that give you pleasure, like eating, and you feel better about it. So no, it's working pretty good. The best thing about Lamotrigine, or one of the best things, is it's cheap. It's very inexpensive. Lamictal, when it was brand name, was like $300 or $400 a month. Lamotrigine generic for me for I think it was 60/25s were $15, including the dispensing fee, and that's excellent. That's a tenth of what my Cymbalta costs a month. Yeah, Cymbalta costs like $90 a month, 90 to 120 depending on what dosage you buy it in. So that's really good. Maybe I'll see if my doctor will transfer me to some like other antidepressant, which is a bit more cost effective. Maybe he'll put me on some Prozac or something. I don't know, but Lamotrigine's good. As always, if you're depressed and you find your medications aren't working, or you find your therapy's not working, go talk to your doctor about it, because you may have some other untreated psychiatric condition, because a lot of things just cause depression. Like sometimes you might have some other medical condition that causes pain or stiffness, and that makes you depressed. Or maybe you have bipolar, or maybe you have an anxiety disorder. So stay safe. Always have good communication, a good relationship with your doctor. This is Argent signing out.